And we are actually back after having some temporary, very temporary technical difficulties. I hope everyone can hear us well. And Ryan, welcome. Uh,
What's up?
Wonderful. I hope we didn't lose too many people in the beginning, because, it did take us a few minutes to get in, but I do have a wonderful show and wonderful podcast. And I'm here to announce a very special, amazing guest, Ryan Welton. Now, Dr. Welton, I'd like to introduce you as a practitioner extraordinaire, physical therapy innovator, creator of your own system. As a matter of fact, creator of literally a pioneer of a new healthcare system, as a matter of fact. And you've been doing incredible work with your people, but also with all sorts of devices and products. Let's start the conversation. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. We're back. So last time we had technical difficulties, and it turns out that I was using Safari's browser, which is why it was all choppy. So hopefully this works and everybody can hear me.
Absolutely, and one of the things about technology is if it can go wrong, it generally does. So we don't take it too seriously, but the best thing about it is that to actually bring forth, this amazing content. So Ryan, thank you so much for being on board. And now I've known you for quite. Let's just introduce you to the audience and just a little bit more about yourself, where you've come from, how you got to where you got, and just a little bit about yourself for the audience, please.
Yeah. So I'm a physical therapist currently in the Tampa Bay area. I've been in private practice like, I don't know, 14 years, something like that. And I am originally from Massachusetts, from Boston area. And I went to Northeastern University. I got my bachelor's, master's, doctorate in physical therapy from there. And then I moved down here and I went out into private practice. And that's where what I've been doing. And not only that, but I'm also an inventor and a teacher. And I'm kind of like Norm in a way, a serial inventor of treatment methods and also devices, stuff like that as well. So.
And you've been doing incredible work. Plus, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of your personal story, and this is something that I just want to mention for the benefit of all the folks out there. Now, Ryan, on your way to becoming where you are, who you are right now, you also overcame a number of personal factors, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind talking about a little bit about that? I mean, if it's too personal, please let me know. But
Yeah, no. I
yeah.
openly talk about it. I suffered from obsessive compulsive disorder most of my life, and it is it's anybody that wakes up every day and is afraid of themselves. I give credit to because when you lose control of that, you lose control up here. It's like it's really it wasn't a fun experience. Anyways, I had very severe OCD. I use a high dose CBD. I read this study where they were given OCD patients 300 to 600 milligrams of CBD, and that is the only thing that has ever stopped, or at least calmed down the checking mechanism in my brain. So I've had OCD most of my life, and then I'm also a dyslexic. So most inventors or a lot of creative people are dyslexic, and a lot of entrepreneurs. So I'm one of those.
Oh my God,
So
yeah.
that helps me though. It actually helps me. I see it as like a superpower type thing. Although I wish I could read like everybody else and the words didn't flip flop back and forth. It's not really an enjoyable task to sit down and read a book for me, but I'd rather watch the YouTube video type thing. But anyway, so I'm a dyslexic. I suffer from OCD, so I've had my challenges in life, but I was able to, I'm able to overcome things. I have a pretty strong will. So
Ryan, you're incredible. So basically, with everything that you've gone through, and you've been through some really tough situations. As a matter of fact, you used all those situations, and you turn them into strength. And as a matter of fact, you're standing head and shoulders above basically where most physical therapy is. Therapists in terms of results, outcomes, in terms of what you do, and you even actually have developed your own system with your own understanding of how the body works. Do you mind talking about that a little bit, or a lot, perhaps?
Yeah. So I got this clinic in Tampa where everybody's failed everything, or pretty much everything. Everybody's got the story, I call it. They failed physical therapy, chiropractic, injection, surgery, orthopedic surgeon, neurosurgeon, X-ray, MRI, massage, acupuncture. And over the years, I have I'm obsessed. So I have an obsessive mind. And a compulsive. I have to know like the why behind everything. It's not enough to me to be like, oh, this person's got pain. Like I need to know why. Like every pain in their body, I need to understand why it's there. So just in my natural thought process from 2009 to 2014, I don't go to conferences. I don't really talk to too many people in my field. I just obsessively worked with patients, and they taught me everything I needed to know, my patients. So I figured out the root cause of most of the orthopedic conditions. I cracked the code for a lot of these conditions, and I published it in the Journal of Practical Pain Management. You can Google Welton sacroiliac joint dysfunction protocol, and I show you how to get that better. Sacral torsion shear, I streamlined that evaluation process, and also showed you what's causing it and how to get it better. It's too complex the way they teach it in school. And then I also, what else I published? Oh, the root cause of plantar fasciitis, and which also includes Achilles tendonitis, shin splints, anterior tibialis tendonitis. And then I also published recently the root cause of something called posterior impingement syndrome of the shoulder. So I figured out a lot of these conditions, and I created protocols, which, in medicine, results prove what's true. Everybody's got theories, but when you come out with something, it's like math. Like, here's how I got to this result. Here's the steps that I used. Now you try it. So that's what I've been doing. And along with teaching, I have a YouTube channel where I have 500 videos. I teach my colleagues how I get the results that I get here. So with this clinic that I have where everybody's failed everything, I'm able to get 99% of my patients better every year, no pain, no drugs, no surgery, and get them back into their life regardless of what they've tried. I've also developed methods to relieve pain instantly. So I actually get 99% of my patients out of pain immediately, and 99% of them better every year. And I used to be just me saying I could do that. And then I started teaching these courses that I have for physical therapists and chiropractors and massage therapists or whoever. And now I have people all over the world doing that, so they're getting those results, and people are flying to them from different countries and stuff. It's really cool to see. So
it is truly incredible. I read and I looked through some of your manuals that you've developed for the how to read and how to work with human body, and it's a very ingenious, it's a very out of the box type of approach. Now, how did you develop that? How did you come upon that? From the beginning.
Yeah, so I think you might be talking about my first method, which was my myofascial method, which I mapped 1,000 pages of maps of the body. So this right here, let's see if you can see me here. This right here connects right here. But if I turn my hand over like this, it doesn't connect here anymore, it connects over here. If I turn my hand this way, now it doesn't connect anymore here, it connects over in here. If I bring this down like that, it connects down here. If I bring it up, it connects up into the AC joint up in here. And then also if I move my finger and move it around like that, if I go this way instead of that, this way connects over here again. If I go that way, it connects more in my pec. So anyways, it shuts pain off immediately. Usually for me, 99% of the time, but most of my students hover around 80, 90% success rate. 8 out of 9 people that walk through their door, they can get them full range of motion and no pain, usually immediately. So it's an instant, they're like off switches for most musculoskeletal pain. So that's my first method I developed. And then I developed a sciatica method where I figured out how a circuit, and acupuncturists tell me they're acupuncture points, but acupuncturists tell me that they've never seen this. This is not documented anywhere that they've ever seen in any book anywhere, that these certain circuit of points shuts off sciatica and cervical radiculopathy rather immediately. And usually around 8 out of 10 people, I would say, is the average, is what people tell me. And then I have all my uh, orthopedic discoveries, and now I'm into this electromagnetic field stuff. So I have a lot of methods that I'm coming up with and out with using Norm's device, Dr. Shealy, his electromagnetic field. So
Yeah, PEM. We're talking about the PEMF device, right?
yeah, his gamma PEM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Ryan, it sounds like you're doing a lot of work with electromagnetics in the body, and this is basically how the body functions. I mean, the nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, the connective tissue, and it's wonderful because you were able to map, able to map the entire body pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically not just the arm, but arms, legs, trunk, back, neck. So literally, and this is what I learned is fascinating. Just looking at your manual, I can touch a certain point, or you can touch a certain point on a leg, and you'll affect and you'll decrease, or you'll just entirely take off the pain in the arm. And that's as an example. Or another combination of points. The idea is absolutely fascinating. Let's talk about the electromagnetism and how you see that, because I think you see the body in a very different way. And I would be fascinated just to even look to see the world through your eyes for just even 5 minutes, I should say.
Careful what you wish for, buddy.
Right. But please do share. I mean, how do you see the human body? How do you see this whole thing? Because you obviously you have the insight to see, recognize, and develop this whole system. So
yeah. This is I kind of transitioning in my mind from the physical to the non-physical, as I think it was Einstein or Tesla, one of those two. I think it was Einstein said that when we start to study the non-physical, we'll make more progress in a decade than we have in a century. I believe that was the quote, and I agree. I believe that. So to me, the physical body is like the dis-ease, if you will, is a manifestation of what's happening in the electromagnetic field. So that is the subject of my intrigue going forward. Is okay. I figured out a lot of the physical body aspects of orthopedics. And now I want to know the why behind that. Like my mind has always wanted to know the why. Like, when I find something, but why? And then
the
when
root
I
cause,
find out why,
yes.
I'm like, yeah, but why? Why that? And then, well, why that? Why? Until I get to like solar flares in the universe happening or something,
I love it. I love that. That's
movement
awesome.
of the planets or something. Like that's where my mind goes. It just naturally, it's just, I don't know, it's just how I think. So my mind has kind of left the physical, and I'm starting to venture into the non-physical or the electromagnetic field, which is really cool because Dr. Shealy, just invented that gamma PEM device not too long ago. And I don't believe he understood when he invented that exactly the power that thing has, because he invented it for drug addiction, right? Which, by the way, works great. I was using benzodiazepines to sleep at night, and I put the gamma. So benzodiazepines, anybody that take like Xanax, Klonopin, something like that, it can be a challenge to shut this thing down. But anybody that takes that knows that coming off that stuff is like brutal. I mean, that's not fun. The nervous system cravings and all that stuff. So restless leg syndrome I would get. And I put the gamma PEMF on my head for 2 hours, as Norm told me to do. And it's like coming off of Skittles. So anyway, I started using that. But then I grabbed and I started using on my patients, and I started trying out different frequencies with different issues, and then trying different aspects of the body and starting to see patterns. I'm a dyslexic, so I noticed patterns, and I started to see just, an intuitive hits of this connects here, that type of thing. So that is the subject of my future work. Like I said, I'm kind of shifting gears here, in my mind.
Gotcha. Ryan, it's really literally you've turned a challenge into a gift. I mean, this OCD, obsessive compulsive, usually is a very difficult for many people, and I'm sure it was difficult for you. But you literally turned it into a gift, and you actually created a whole new, or you started a whole new field of science, so to speak. So let's talk about the other aspects of PEMF, because you actually pointed out that the delta on the PEMF is more useful than we thought possible, because initially we were working on PEMF on there's three modes. The first mode is the sweep mode. So it's a frequency embedded into the PEMF, and it's literally the Schumann frequency, 7.83 cycles per second. And so why is that important? Well, it's essential because that is a support for the human and literally living cells. And how do you see that? What's your take on that? Because most of the time lately I use the sweep mode, so to speak, or the uh, go ahead, please. Yeah.
So I haven't really ventured into the sweep mode. I've been more focusing on delta and gamma. So what I've found is that delta. So I personally herniated a disc in my back, and I put on the gamma frequency on my low back, and I didn't like it. I felt like it was too high of a frequency. It was bothering my legs. And then I switched it over. Just said, I was just curious, and I just switched over to delta, and then whew, it came out of my legs, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that's crazy, So I'm like, I don't know anything that can do that really, and I'm like, that's crazy. So anyway, so for about 4 months, I wore it on my back, and I didn't have sciatica in my legs. And I use it with my patients clinically, and here it works on 9 out of 10 people on the delta frequency. So the delta frequency is a calming frequency. It's a frequency you sleep at. It's the lowest frequency from what I understand in the electromagnetic field, but it is, it works great for nervous system issues. Usually dramatically and immediately. So I use that there. And then I made this cool discovery not too long ago. In the gamma frequency, I actually have thermal imaging on it. The gamma frequency relieves arthritic pain. So when you switch that thing over to gamma and you put it on someone's arthritic knee, they have on average 70-80% reduction in pain in like 20 minutes. Using gamma. So I actually had this patient that had thermal imaging camera, which I had shown you. And I'm like, I'm dying to see what's happening inside people's bodies here. Like, how is this working? The gamma frequency on arthritic joints. So I actually got a thermal imaging camera, and I actually was able to see that it decreased, I showed you, it decreased inflammation of this person's knee. And he had an 80% reduction in pain in about 20 minutes. So
God, yeah, so that's amazing, incredible. Ryan, thank you so much. I mean, you're actually you've educated me on this on the PEMF device even more so than I thought possible, because you've actually jumped into the use of that as well as other, of course, modalities that you work with, and I find it fascinating how there's so many applications of all of this wonderful stuff. Now, Ryan, and I'd like to take some questions as we go along. But what's next on your horizon? What would you like to achieve? What would you like to create in the near future?
Yeah. So my goal is to work through my colleagues and to help other patients. So my goal. So that's why I teach. Like every Wednesday, I do a Facebook Live, and I teach. Clinically speaking, like it's geared towards physical therapists and chiropractors, et cetera. And I teach clinically how to get, this condition better, this back condition better, what exactly to do, how to diagnose it. So my goal has always been to I'm one person, I can only help so many people in here, but if I can work through my peers, then we can do this together, and help a lot more people. So that's my goal. My goal is to revolutionize, the way that we think about this whole healing thing. It's way deeper than our conventional medical model, I believe, sees it as. And based on the results and stuff that I've been getting with these magnetic fields and stuff like that. So yeah, the latter part of my life is going to be geared towards, like I said, the non-physical. The frequencies and electromagnetism, that type of thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. As a matter of fact, people may not be aware, but electromagnetism has been utilized by ancients. You've got all sorts of terms and things. But even in the conventional science, you're talking about PET scan, CAT scan, MRIs. You're talking about all of these things that EEG, EKG, all sorts of devices, and it uses electromagnetism literally to read the body's health. And I'm very surprised that people don't know about this more, because we're still living in a society that lives and believes that basically holds the human body, the physical body, or see what you can touch as the gold standard. Whereas there's one of my favorite quotes is we have a physical body, and we're more than our physical body. We have our mind, we have our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and we're more than that. And ultimately, we are energy, we're soul, and we're spirit. And how this works, how this comes together, is literally this is incredible, as Ryan is doing the groundbreaking work and connecting all of this information and literally demonstrating physically with research, with publications, with actual studies. That there is an intimate connection between all of this electromagnetic, energetical aspects, and of course the physical body. And so, what is your success rate? I'm just curious. In your population, people that you see.
With with respect to what?
Let's say in your clinic. I mean, people come to you who, like you said, have failed everything, or they've been failed by everything. I think you mentioned that over 19, what is it, 99%?
Success? Yeah, 99% every year is what I usually can get better. I mean, there's people I can't get better. Like I had a lady come to me the other day. She was an old patient from like 3-4 years ago, and she's been told by 4 surgeons to go have neck surgery. And she came into me, and her arm was completely paralyzed. And as she showed me her MRI of a disc, indenting her spinal cord in her neck, I'm like, you need to have surgery now. Like that may not even come back in your arm. Like this is very serious. So there are things that I can't fix, and that thank God for surgeons when that happens. But mainly what I see in my clinic is actually back pain. So I see chronic back pain patients all day long, and the 57% have contemplated suicide. I published a paper on it. 57% have contemplated suicide. Because they just can't stand up anymore, or they can't roll over in bed or sit on certain surfaces. And what it actually is actually a mechanical issue I've found. So years ago, I started seeing these people in here, and they were totally debilitated. And they were like, and I had been a therapist years at that point. And I was like disoriented. I'm like, who are these people? Like, because when you work in a traditional outpatient clinic, you see ankle sprains, back strains, neck pain, carpal tunnel, something like that, right? But what I started to see was these people that couldn't stand up, that had failed everything. And when nothing showed up on an X-ray or an MRI or X-ray for that matter, they would send them to a psychiatrist. So I'm pretty intuitive. I'm a pretty good judge of character. And I'm looking at these people and I'm like, these people don't need to see a psychiatrist. There's something wrong with these people. I'm like, so I started looking, and I was like, what is happening to these people's backs? And I started looking, and one day, if you're watching this, one day I found that they all had the same exact condition, all of them. And it was actually, I noticed a pattern across the patient population. And so what happens is that their sacroiliac joint, which is right here, slips up on one side, and then they usually have what's called outflares on both sides. So they outflare like that, okay? And then their sacrum is always usually what's called the sacral torsion. It usually rotates in the same direction every time, and that causes what's called a sacral shearing pain at the base of the spine. So once I started to see this pattern emerge, and I'm like, they all have the same misalignment, not even the same problem, the same misalignment causing the problem. So I'm like, well, what muscles can I strengthen? How can I get this back? So I figured I invented a diagnostic test, because sacroiliac joint dysfunction is not something that the medical system really kind of glosses over it, because they really don't know what to do about it. It's kind of like, go try physical therapy. If that doesn't work, you can get adjusted or something, or we can inject it. But but nobody really has pinpointed exactly like what is causing this issue, like what exactly is making someone's sacroiliac joint go out of alignment. And what I've found is it's what's called gluteus medius weakness here. And you can read my paper. Like I said, I cracked the code for this. You can read it in the Journal of Practical Pain Management. Is gluteus medius weakness, which is on the side of the hip here, which when that gets weak, it causes what's called an upslip. Okay. So then we strengthen that to bring it back down. And the person has what's called out flares as well, further compressing the sacroiliac joint. And so what I do is I strengthen the groin muscles that attach here. When you do, it gaps that open. And then usually the sacrum's rotated to one side. I push it back, but then I have to stabilize it. And I strengthen one piriformis muscle, and we lock that in. Now, sacroiliac joint dysfunction. So when I invented this test, and I figured out what was actually happening here, and I invented this test where I pull on the leg, and I gap it open. And then you can tell instantly what's sciatica and what's not sciatica. And what I've found is that most of the charts for sacroiliac joint dysfunction are wrong, in that there's a little bit more to it. So you can get pain, numbness, weakness, tightness, sometimes burning in any of these areas, okay? And across the entire back as well. So if it's bilateral, both SI joints are out, then you can get something that looks like that in any variation of that. Like today, I had a lady who just came in and she had like a stabbing pain down in here. No one can figure it out. You know, they do knee x-rays. I've seen people with knee surgeries and stuff because their knees hurt. I open up their SI joints after the knee surgery failed. Boom, their pain's gone instantly, which confirms the fact that they didn't actually need the surgery. And they had a knee problem, like they had a meniscal tear, but that wasn't causing the problem. And the same thing in the lumbar spine. So in the lumbar spine, I see people literally all day long. Like most of my patients have had failed surgeries and procedures done on them. They all come from that world, the chronic pain world, right? And I bring them in, and, I know what's wrong with them before I even take them back. I flip open their chart, and if it says they've had it for like years, and that, and they can barely walk type thing, and I've tried this, and I'm like, I know what this is, because everybody's got the same problem, so I pulled on their leg, I gap their sacroiliac open, and then I ask them, did any of your back pain go away? Because I find that the cause of most back pain is this, and I say that because I can get 99% of my patients out of pain immediately, is actually caused by sacroiliac joint dysfunction. So they can get pain all across their back. So when they have an MRI that shows a herniated disc, then the medical system says, well, that must be it, and then they go and they operate on it, and the person doesn't get better, and then years later they come to me and I just open up their SI joint and boom, the pain's gone. And I'm like, that's where the pain was coming from. And that wasn't sciatica. It was a referred pain chart of sacroiliac joint dysfunction that was causing the knee pain, the ankle pain, the hip pain, the groin pain. Though what I've seen in here is a tragedy, honestly. It's a tragedy of what these people have gone through, having to be subjected to all these procedures and even Norm's invention of radio frequency ablation surgery. Most of my patients, they try that for the SI joint, or they try it because they think it's a nerve issue, but it's a mechanical issue, So it's really a tragedy, but I figured out how to fix it. So anyways, I published that and I teach my colleagues. It's used in 40 countries. Actually, pro sports teams are using my methods. It's in the Major League Baseball and the NFL now. So it's getting out there, so.
Ryan, God bless you and thank you, because this is in my own practice, and Norm and I have practiced, how to take care of the sacral shears and sacroiliac joint dysfunction, not necessarily to the same capacity as you are. I mean, that's what your specialty is, but there's about 2 or 3 methods in which I can get that in a better place and get a person out of pain. And I've literally also saved several people from surgery, colleagues of mine nursing in the ER and everything else. And it's interesting. It's amazing how fast our society jumps to the conventional modalities when a person has a problem or a pain. And surgery, medicine, drugs, antidepressants, muscle relaxants. My God, I mean, all this stuff. All that stuff. And, the fact of the matter is, for the most degree, it's not necessary, folks. It's not necessary. Ryan, thank you so much. How many people have you taught how to do this? Because in around this parts, not every physical therapist or occupational therapist knows how to do this. It's not common knowledge, even though it should be.
Yeah, no, I actually have a student of mine who's a really great physical therapist. Her name is Rebecca Klappmeyer, and she is about an hour south of you. So if you ever get into some tricky, cases of chronic pain, she's about an hour south of you. Let me know. I'll give you her information. But I have, I don't know, thousands of people doing it. I know that my papers are like the number one search or like top search terms on Google now. So it's like on the first page when you Google these conditions type thing on how to rehab them. So, and I know that the journal told me that it was one of their top read papers, if not the top read. It kind of went viral. It's probably the top read by now, I would say. But it's, I think well over 100,000 people have read my papers and, or my SI papers, stuff like that. So it's out there. Like, I don't really know. Like, I'm just in here every day and I do these videos. And for a while, I didn't even know if anybody was listening to me. I would go home. My wife would be like, "How's your Facebook Live?" And I would be like, "I don't know." I don't know if anybody was listening. And then people started trying what I was saying, my colleagues, and they were, let me try out what this guy's saying. Right. And then they, all of a sudden the patient's out of pain immediately, and then it worked. And then it's kind of snowballed from there. And more people are doing it. Plus, I published it for free. I'm trying to help people. I published it in the Journal of Practical Pain Management, because I'm trying to help people. So I published my orthopedic discoveries for free. So.
Oh, God bless you, my friend. God bless you. This is very rare in this world. That a person just really, literally wants to give away the knowledge and the information. Thank you so much for doing that. Have you faced any backlash, or have you faced any issues from the any kind of organizations, overall agencies, things of that nature? Because anytime you come out with something new or different, there's going to be a backlash of some sort. In general, Norm has gone through plenty of that in his time. In his discoveries. What's your experience in dealing with the industry? Has it been open to what you have to say, or is it resistant, or is it hostile?
It was hostile in the beginning. You gotta put a helmet on. I was thrown out of so when I first came out, I started teaching the myofascial method, which it doesn't make, like, people aren't trained in the whole body connects. It's like, the medical profession, it's very linear, it's like, if they can't see how it works, then it can't be, it can't be true. But then when I first came out online, like I said, I don't really go to conferences. I don't talk to too many people. It's too confusing for me. So I sit in, in my office and, and try to figure this stuff out. So I had figured out SI joint dysfunction in 2009, and I had figured out a lot of the orthopedic conditions, and I had no idea I had done that because so fast forward around 2017, I started teaching that the myofascial method that I was talking about, the instant pain relief method. And I started traveling the country. I was teaching live at the time. All my courses are online right now, but I was teaching live at the time. And I started traveling the country, and I started talking to my colleagues about orthopedics, and I'm like, SI joint dysfunction is caused by an upslip and or out flare, and they're like, huh? And I'm like, that's strange that they don't know that, and then I just thought it was common knowledge. Like I said, I don't talk to too many people, and then I would go to a new city and then ask them, and they were like, huh? And I'm like, that's strange they don't know that. Well, it took me about a year and a half to realize that I had actually figured it out, and figured a lot of these conditions out. So, when I first came out online and I started talking about sacroiliac joint dysfunction, and because what the orthopedic establishment had concluded is that the SI joint doesn't move and humanity's screwed. And I was like, that's not true.
Yes,
I'm
it does.
And I know you have tried it too, and now it's used all over the world. And and I'm like, that's not true. So I started talking about it, and it got pretty nasty. People don't really, there's a resistance. At first, I was like, what is wrong with these people? My colleagues, They threw me out of all the groups on Facebook and everything for daring to question their science, but they were wrong, and my results proved it, So anyways, I started teaching it. And then one day I published the paper, and that was the last day I ever heard from anybody. So because it's like math, like I said, you just show your steps and then results prove what's true. And they looked at what I was doing apparently in their clinics, and they were like, yeah, no, this dude's right, So then
It's a
I do.
wonderful. This is wonderful. Your story is very much mirrors what Dr. Shealy, what Norm's story has been. And he was literally, as a neurosurgeon with a dorsal cord stimulator, with a TENS unit discovery, and eventually the other things that he's come up with. He was literally, he went through a lot of rough times basically with the establishment, and I don't think the establishment still accepts what he has to say. But at least now, it's hard to say anything against him in this because of all the research and the data and the science. And so this is. I do want to say thank you for following in Dr. Shealy's footprint, so to speak, or following your own footprint, but in a similar journey of taking this information that's completely out of the box, completely out of the system, and introducing it into the system, so that the system, I'm not sure the system is going to do anything with it, but the people who are interested in learning
Right.
can learn it. Do you see physical therapy schools eventually incorporating your methods and your teachings to the graduating students, to the new pupils, so to speak? Because that would be the best way to get this out into the world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they already are actually. And my papers are cited in textbooks now. They're teaching in orthopedics classes in schools, orthopedics professors now. So like I said, the thing about the medical field is they're very resistant to change, as I found out in no uncertain terms, as Norm found out in no uncertain terms. When you're an innovator in medicine, you got to put your helmet on, but you kind of get pushed to the fringe. But I'm comfortable on the fringe. I don't want to be part of the mainstream. I don't want anything to do with it. I want radical change, and that doesn't usually come from inside establishments, which is why I don't belong to any groups or organizations. When it comes to what I do, like as an innovator, like it's just par for the course. You just know that people aren't really gonna embrace it until you publish it. And that's the cool thing about medicine, is when you publish something, then it's like in a peer-reviewed journal, then it's like, okay, now it's valid. You go try it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what happened. And like I said, I don't hear from anybody anymore. Nobody says anything because I proved what I was saying was true, and the conventional wisdom was wrong, and it's usually wrong in the beginning, like the latest thing that my profession is talking about, and I'm so upset about it, and it'll sound insane to the people listening, but they're saying, like, one of the most prestigious journals in the rehab profession is promoting this, is that bad posture is good for you. And I'm like, what on earth is this?
Oh,
and I'm like, what? And that posture doesn't have anything to do with anything. And I'm like, that
Ryan,
even, like people listening here are probably like, when I go like this all day long, my neck hurts.
Oh God, yeah.
So I just wrote a paper on shoulders, on shoulder pain. And I included 13 different conditions in there, how to diagnose and treat. And what I did is I said, so like the establishment was talking about, our data shows the science is settled type thing again, of how, the posture doesn't matter, and I'm like, this is craziness. I'm like, I do this technique all the time with my patients when they have what's called an impingement syndrome in their shoulder, and they raise their arm up and it pinches, the rotator cuff pinches. I would say 20% of them, you tell them to pin their shoulder blades back and down. I did it today. Pin your shoulder blades back and down like this. And I'm like, now raise your arm up. They don't have any pain anymore. And I'm like, that's been debunked now, So like the stuff that initially comes out is usually wrong, I find, and then, in medicine, and, we're finding that out now, unfortunately, in the world. And, like, it's just like, you have to poke holes in things, like you can't just accept what people say, even me. Don't accept what I say. Challenge what I'm doing,
But
and
yeah, but try it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, try what I'm saying. Like, you should never blindly follow anybody. That's a cult, So
Perfect. And that's, when people say follow the science, I just want to say it doesn't mean trust blindly. Check it out. Check it out, folks. That's, the whole thing has gone off a completely wrong path. Ryan, let's talk about. There's a question on the screen. What PEMF? Would PEMF help for sacroiliac cysts? What's your take on that, please?
okay, so my take on that is, I think you should find somebody to do my SI joint protocol, because most of my patients, they get x-rays and they're scanned up the wazoo. They get every scan that you can think of they've had done. And inevitably you find something, a bone spur in the hip. And then the doctors say, well, that's must be what it is, because we don't see anything else on these scans. But the answer is actually mechanical, which doesn't show up on an x-ray and MRI. So I would find somebody who understands and is well versed in my sacroiliac joint protocol, and realign your SI joints, because it sounds like it's out of alignment. I've put it this way: I've never had to deal with anybody with a sacroiliac joint cyst to get them better. So I just realign their SI joints and stabilize it into position, and they get better. So 99.9% of the time.
That's wonderful. Now, the PEMF is always a welcome unit, welcome addition to any therapy. By the way, do you use PEMF as part of your as part of the therapy, along with physical manipulation and other methods?
Yeah, I use PEMF every day on every patient.
Gotcha.
I actually figured out a way, and I'm still working on it, so I'm not ready to teach it yet. But I figured out a way to strengthen somebody without actually doing anything. So the person just lays on the mat, and I put the PEMF device on a distant area of the body that I see that's what I believe is entangled, quantumly entangled and connected to these other areas of the body. And quantum entanglement is what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. He said that when you take two particles and you split it, you put one here and one on the moon, and you change the spin of the one here, the one on the moon will change on the opposite direction, instantaneously, but they're no longer connected anymore, but they are still connected in the electromagnetic field. So what I believe, a lot of these points and stuff in my myofascial method are quantumly entangled, and at the fundamental level of reality. And then also some of these magnetic field stuff. So in the case of what I was just talking about, how I figured out a way to strengthen someone is, so people with SI joint dysfunction, sacral torsion, and sacral shear and torsion, specifically I'm talking about right now, although the two go together, the two conditions usually in the chronic pain world, is that they usually have a weak right piriformis muscle. So when you try to test their piriformis, you can break them really easy. And what I figured out 6-8 months ago, something like that, is that if you put it on another area of their body, that you check them in 15 minutes and they have full strength or close to it, when they had like a 3 out of 5 strength, so almost like half strength. And then they go up to like a 5 out of 5 or a 4+ out of 5 or something like that. And they're just laying on my mat listening to Ed Sheeran sing on YouTube, And so when I figured it out, I'm like, is this a cool party trick, or are my patients going to get better faster? And then all of a sudden, all these people started coming in. I've been doing this rehab years with back pain, and all these people coming in, and they're like, yeah, no, I feel better. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that doesn't usually happen this fast, and then it was one after another. And I'm like, well, I hacked this, treatment and made it go better faster, because I'm able to strengthen you almost like electromagnetic steroids, but it's natural. So it doesn't, it's not bad for you, so it's really, really cool. So the sky's the limit with electromagnetism once you start to delve into that, which is where I want to take people that, follow me and do my methods in the future.
Yep. Actually, another thing, another angle that you can approach the electromagnetism, and this is actually something that Dr. Shealy has taught me, is through other methods, such as supplementation and other things. In other words, getting the right nutrients in. And so, one of the things that I would absolutely add is. Oh, by the way, I want to jump into a comment here. So. I think this is about PEMF. I've had it for 2 weeks, and it literally has changed my depression and brain fog. Amen. Love my PEMF. So do I. I mean, it's I've got one in the house. I've got one in the car. I've got one in the, literally everywhere I go. Um,
I
it's
think
a
the gamma state, the gamma brainwave state, is the optimal state, and maybe the state that we should have been in, if you ask me. Because if you don't have drug addiction anymore, like I didn't have trouble coming off of benzodiazepines, right? Then and then also like I use it to sleep at night. I actually put it on my head, the gamma frequency, and it takes about an hour or so, and then like I don't like have to take as much stuff to sleep at night when I do that. So I put my brain into gamma, and it also focuses my mind. My mind, as people watching can probably tell, is all over the place type thing, but it actually kind of focuses my mind and allows me to like not be so like thinking about extraneous things.
Ryan, I just want to say thank you for who you are. Thank you for for how how the you were created. Because I mean there's no coincidences here. There's no mistakes. People, and I just want to say when people look at the diagnoses and let's say obsessive compulsive or let's say another condition, yeah, it even ADHD, even things like autism or so on the spectrum, these things. And it's certainly is not great to have learning difficulty as you move along, but I just want to say and I want to realize that everything is a gift. Everything is whatever factors, whatever characteristics we're born with, what we have is can be utilized for something that is truly amazing. And you've literally taken that difficulty and you turned it into a gift. And I just want to say to the people out there that whatever situation you've got going on, if you literally change the approach, they change the perspective, and just literally take everything that's happening and turn it into useful things, useful information, useful stuff. You can literally just turn things around and truly enjoy. So thank you for all you developed. I don't. Let me see if there's any other questions here. I don't know if there's any others, but Ryan, thank you so much. Your practice. What is your breakdown in terms of teaching versus healing? In other words, versus doing the work. What percentage of the time do you educate?
So I don't treat a full schedule because I'm busy. I have other things going on, like inventions, like Norm and all that stuff. So I don't treat a full schedule, but I work most of the day, 5 days a week, and then I work on my inventions, and I work on my teaching. But I put all my courses online now, so like it's I used to travel and teach, and that was very taxing on me and my family. So I put all my courses online now, so people can, practitioners download them, and then they start getting the results that I am getting, like the next day type thing. So, I kind of, I mean, I mainly learn on my patients. Like like I usually like have an insight and be like, oh, this connects here. If I did this, I could do this, and then da da da, and then I try it and it works, and I'm like, okay, great, I just came up with a cool new discovery type thing. That's how. So I don't like read books or do any of that. I like my patients teach me everything I need to know. I just listen and I listen to the words. I
Wonderful.
listen to the words they use, and they usually use the same words when they describe conditions. So that's a tip off.
Wonderful. Capacity to see patterns is one of the best, one of the most amazing things in the world, and you've got that definitely. I think there's a question here. How do I find someone who does your protocol? Now that's
Yeah, so I'm working on a provider locate page on my website. But for now, what you can do is email my office. So if you go to weltonmethods.com and go to contact us, and you can email my assistant, and she'll find somebody hopefully near you that does whatever you're looking for in terms of my protocols for whatever condition you have. So
wonderful. And obviously, no, you're in Florida, so local folks or people who want to travel. Do you have any people who travel to you from a distance just to kind of for relief and?
Yeah, nowadays, man. Nowadays, I got people coming to me from everywhere. So it's interesting. It's a different dynamic, because I usually treat people about 10 times, and I never need to see you again. I'll teach you everything, how to keep it better, type thing. But these people kind of come and go, which makes it a little bit more challenging, So yeah, no, I mean, I last month I had a whole handful of people here from out of state flying in, stayed for a week, But I live in I'm like 40 minutes from Clearwater Beach here, the white sand beaches of Clearwater. So some people come in and they stay at hotels down there and hang out at the beach, So one day I'm gonna have an institute down there on the water. I want to have a teaching and treating institute on the water. So we'll
That
see.
sounds wonderful. You certainly got a lot to teach and a lot to share. Thank you so much. Now, I did want to share a few things. Just a word of appreciation for our sponsors. First of all and foremost, Spring Valley Natural Foods, one of the most friendliest places here in Springfield. Great service, and they carry most of Dr. Shealy's favorites. Essentials, which is a good B complex, youth formula, the bliss oils, magnesium lotion, lots of good stuff. Great store and great service. And last but not least, if you don't get your veggies, there's should be at least 6 to 7 servings of veggies per day, depending, of course, on how your weight and otherwise, as much as you can. It's just really good for you. There is something called tart cherry juice concentrate. Kaloma Foods, and as Dr. Shealy says, you can find it in real grocery stores. Ryan, I do want to say thank you again for coming up on today's show. We had you earlier at one point. The connection technically was difficult, and we this time we made it. So
Yeah, did it.
wonderful. So we'll have you over again, and of course, if you don't mind. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, yourself, and um, of course, I'll ask the audience. Of course, if there's any other topics that you would like to ask and talk to Ryan about. But I know you cover a whole bunch of range from on electromagnetism devices, things that you like to use personally, but also internal electromagnetics of the human body, which is absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Ryan, anything else on your mind before we part ways? The hour is almost up, and it goes fast.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you because I was talking about my Facebook Live today, is that I had long haul COVID bad. I had I got COVID 4 times and it lasted months.
Mhm.
And I've emailed you several times and told you, like, what do I do, man? Like, this is not good. So what I took was the ivermectin for my fatigue, and that brought it right back within like a day or two, and that helped there. But then I still had this brain fog, and I couldn't get rid of it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't like remember anything. I had to write everything down. If you asked me if I ate breakfast this morning, I couldn't tell you. I didn't know. You
Oh
know,
God, that's
for
terrible for a therapist. My God,
I had to
especially
write
when you do.
everything down, everything.
Yeah.
And you mentioned to go do ozone therapy, and one of my patients did it and was telling me about the success with long haul COVID. And like in 2 weeks, I'm like a totally changed person. In fact, I'm still stunned at how powerful that treatment is, and it's quite remarkable. So I'm like a totally changed person. Like I'm almost 100%, I would say, and I feel great. So thank you for
Uh,
that.
Ryan, it's always a pleasure working with you. I mean, we have our separate, different fields. I mean, expertise. I mean, you're great at what you do. We're good at what we do, of course. But what I notice is that this it takes for in order to succeed, in order to be successful in wellness, in health, you've got to have a good team on board. And part of this, what I love about here is that there's a network of like-minded, beautiful individuals, you know, people who are interested in healing, people who are interested in science, people who are interested in making a contribution to society in the most amazing ways. And Ryan, you are one of those folks. It's I will say this: you one of the statements that you actually recorded for Dr. Shealy. when on his 90th birthday is, and I still remember this. Really, literally, just came to my heart. You remember that statement, right? It's I know you said it best. So something about sometimes a person in their life creates a masterpiece, and sometimes people's entire life is a masterpiece. Did I say it right, or was it a different way of
Yeah,
saying it?
I saw that quote, and was Norm
Yeah.
was having health problems. I saw that quote. I didn't make that up. When I saw that quote, I was like, "That's Norm." Like, his whole life is a masterpiece. When you look back at his life, you realize that he didn't just paint a work of art. His whole life was a work of art. And that's not common to see somebody like Norm. So I was grateful for him.
And Ryan, I just want to say on that note, I think you're following right along the same pathway or similar pathway. So your work, your life, your presence is turning into, or has already turned into, a beautiful masterpiece. So just keep on
Thanks, man.
writing, keep on going. Thank you, brother.
Just trying to help.
Well, thank you, folks. We'll see you next Wednesday. Appreciate you all, and blessings. We'll have another radio program or podcast program, excuse me, on next Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. See you soon. Take care.
All right. Love you all. Peace.